But today, the Talking Points memo deals with the presidential election and how honest reporting is vanishing right before our eyes. So we begin on Saturday, March 16th, all right, Donald Trump, Dayton, Ohio. He gives a rally. He speaks for more than 90 minutes. Now, when you speak that long, that's not a written speech. He's riffing. And whenever Donald Trump riffs, trouble follows. It's very similar. Trump knows what he's saying, but he gets carried away because the MAGA people are in the crowd, and it's like a heavy metal concert. Biden doesn't know what he's saying. So when he goes and starts to riff, it gets crazy. But in both cases, it brings grief to both candidates. So the first manufactured controversy has to do with Trump telling the crowd that automobiles are now being heavily manufactured in both China and Mexico, and that is hurting the American vehicle industry. Roll the tape.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars.
Okay, so bloodbath, economic bloodbath for the country. All right, that's the context of the remark. If you cared to know about the context, which the hate Trumpers don't. And we all know that. But it gets really egregious. So Nancy Pelosi didn't see the speech. I can guarantee you she didn't see the speech. But he told her something. So she goes on CNN. Roll it.
We just have to win this election because he's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about? Praising Hitler, praising the Russians.
Okay, praising Hitler? But Pelosi makes no attempt, all right, to know anything. And she's a propagandist. Now, you can make an argument, and there's some validity to it, that the right and the Republican parties do this as well. But I'm going to tell you something. If they distort a Biden speech like they just distorted a Trump speech, I will report it to you. I know there are propagandists on both sides, but now this is an industry. The hate Trump movement is an industry, and it is enabled by the networks. So here are the press outlets that took the bloodbath comment out of context, okay? Mediaite, the Associated Press, Drudge, CNBC, NPR, The Guardian, NBC News, Politico, CNN, The Hill, The Daily Beast, The Economic Times, CBS News, USA Today, LA Times, New York Times, Newsweek, Rolling Stone, Telegraph, Independent, USA Today, MSNBC, Washington Post. They all took the bloodbath headline and took it out of context to tell the American public, hey, Trump is threatening violence. That's what they did. Okay? So, I mean, it's beyond dishonesty. That wasn't all. All right, same speech, Dayton, Ohio. Trump addresses illegal migrants who commit heinous crimes, not only in America when they get here, but in their home countries. Roll it.
If I had prisons that were teeming with MS-13 and all sorts of people that they've got to take care of for the next 50 years, right? Young people, they're in jail for years, if you call them people. I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. They say you have to vote against him because did you hear what he said about humanity? I've seen the humanity, and these are bad. These are animals, okay?
All right. So I kind of agree with that. MSN 13, the El Salvadoran gang, is heavily here on Long Island, committing murder, mayhem, drug dealing, you name it, extortion. In their own country, El Salvador, the president there has had to declare martial law and suspend all due process to attack those gangs. These are really like the Mexican drug cartels. So Trump uses hyperbole, but it's not inaccurate. All right. Former Biden spokesperson Jen Psaki now works for MSNBC. Go.
The full context is that he went on to say some undocumented immigrants are, quote, not people. And of course, the full context is that this is much bigger than one single speech.
Well, if you're expecting any kind of honesty from that woman, then what can I say? You're not going to get it. She's a propagandist, just like Pelosi. But, you know, it just rankles me that NBC News and CNN enable this kind of blatant dishonesty. Here are the media outlets that condemn Trump for condemning violent migrants. NPR, The Guardian, The Atlantic, Rolling Stone, Politico, CNN, The Hill, The Daily Beast, The New York Times, USA Today, MSNBC, The Washington Post, The Huffington Post. You sense a pattern of behavior here? Jeez. All right. The good news is that most Americans know the fix is in. They know. So if you are watching MSNBC or CNN or reading The Washington Post and The New York Times, you already hate Trump. You want to hate him more? Just watch those vehicles. Now, I'm not in business to stick up for Trump. It's not what this Talking Points memo is all about. This is to just demonstrate once again the blatant dishonesty of the media in America. A media that has special protections under the Constitution is supposed to be delivering honest information to you so you can make informed judgments and decisions. That's gone. Vanished. That's why you're here, listening and watching me this evening. All right, once again, if Biden gets attacked that way by the right or the Republicans or whatever, I'm on it. And that's a memo.